Lakewood Ranch woman is behind bars tonight accused of killing her husband. The sheriff's office says Ashley Benefield claimed self-defense, but she is now charged with his murder.
On September 27, 2020, a seemingly ordinary evening turned deadly in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. A frantic 911 call, a desperate cry for help, and a shocking shooting would change the lives of two families forever.
Manatee County 911, what is the address of your emergency?
Hi, my address is 11327 White Rock Terrace.
Okay, can you repeat that for me to make sure I have it correctly?
The house next door, honey, what's your address?
Behind the facade of a loving marriage, a toxic relationship had been simmering for years. Ashley Benefield stood accused of murdering her husband, Douglas Benefield, but she claimed self-defense. Was it a desperate act to escape a lifetime of abuse, or a calculated move by a cunning manipulator? Let's examine the tangled web of events surrounding Ashley Benefield's fateful night. On September 27, 2020, at approximately 6 o'clock in the evening, a guy contacted 911. According to the man, a neighbor woman raced up to his house begging for help. She stated that she was escaping from her spouse, who had just physically assaulted her inside the home. Despite her constant wailing, the woman did not appear to be a victim because she was carrying a gun. When police officers got to the scene, they discovered the husband is still alive and suffering from 2 gunshot wounds in the bedroom. 2 were to the chest and 1 to the leg. The right arm was also lightly hit by the bullet. The victim was transferred to a nearby hospital where he passed away from his wounds. 2 more bullets were discovered in the wall, along with 4 shell casings from a .45 caliber pistol. Police conducted a comprehensive investigation of the accident scene and spoke with the woman for an hour after it happened, but she remained uncommunicative with them. Detectives started looking into her self-defense claim when she was not taken into custody that evening. Ashley Benefield was the injured woman, while her husband, Douglas Benefield, was the one who died. But let's investigate the actual course of events that day and whether Ashley may have genuinely rescued herself by shooting her husband. The story started in August 2016 at a Republican fundraiser dinner in Palm Beach, Florida, when Ashley and Douglas Benefield first met. After dinner that evening, the man was so impressed with the young girl that he requested for her phone number. Thus began their passionate contact. Ashley was employed at the Donald Trump campaign's Sarasota headquarters. Her role involved organizing demonstrations and urging Christians to cast ballots. Ashley was involved in politics, but she was also a budding model and dancer with the Maryland Juvenile Ballet, where she sometimes gave performances. But Ashley's aim was to launch her own ballet company and become a well-known ballerina. Douglas was 30 years Ashley's senior. He was a successful consultant for technology businesses and defense contractors, originally from Charleston, and a former Navy pilot. In addition, he owned a restaurant and dealt in real estate. Douglas had a 15-year-old daughter, Eva, who was brought together by conservative values and a shared love of guns. Despite their significant age differences, after just 13 days of courtship, Douglas and Ashley were married. Douglas had been widowed approximately a year prior. Charleston, Douglas's hometown, hosted a little celebration. The only person invited was Douglas's buddy Trip Cormany, who at the time was an ordained priest. Trip was not happy and felt that their time together had been too brief, but he consented to officiate the wedding since Douglas was a devout man and he wanted to marry Ashley, before he had an intimate relationship with her in front of the couple's extended family. It was a surprise wedding. Douglas did not even send his daughter a wedding invitation. When Eva Benefield returned home from school and saw her mother Renee's lifeless body, she was still dealing with the shock of losing her mother. Undiagnosed cardiac ailment was the cause of her death. Her father's unexpected marriage to a girl who was only 9 years Eva's senior left her in disbelief. Ashley's relationship with Eva did not work out after she moved into Douglas's home. This led to frequent arguments and scandals within the family. The close father-daughter relationship also suffered greatly as a result of Douglas's new wife. Ashley did not want to take on the role of stepmother or simply be Eva's friend. Eva, on the other hand, felt that she was simply losing her father. Douglas pledged to fulfill his wife Ashley Benefield's ambition of starting a ballet company that would feature dancers of different ethnicities and physical types. He looked up to his new bride. Ashley, like a swan, truly enchanted everyone who knew her. Her blue eyes radiated kindness, and her long brown hair like bird plumage added beauty and glamour. Douglas routinely planned romantic dates and surprises for Ashley, giving her flowers and telling her she was the most beautiful. Douglas was willing to go to any lengths for Ashley since he saw only spiritual purity in her. Ashley and Douglas formed the American National Ballet in Charleston, combining their love of ballet and financial acumen. They held auditions in the summer of 2017, but Ashley never showed up for an audition. Douglas took full responsibility, but the company faced legal trouble after being sued by dancers and choreographers. Douglas brought in new managers, but they made drastic changes and failed to meet Ashley's vision of dancers of all ethnicities. Ashley returned to Florida, expressing her dissatisfaction with the new management and her decision to stand against them. According to her findings, A&B set a new benchmark for how it should have treated its dancers since it was founded with the intention of being unlike any other dance company. The way it was handled should make everyone concerned feel ashamed. It was like a brilliant notion that had vanished like smoke. The American National Ballet was permanently shut down a few months later. Douglas had lost more than $100,000 by the time the ballet case ended, but his ordeal was finished. Douglas had worked closely with many dancers for a long time, so he planned a farewell party for A&B. But instead of his expectant wife waiting for him when he got home, Ashley left him a 4-page letter in which she wrote all of Douglas's flaws and referred to his treatment of her as possessive and domineering. She said that she had to leave him because she was afraid for her life and the safety of her pregnant child after he shot a gun into the ceiling. However, Ashley's note turned out to be just the start. In the months that followed, Douglas had to deal with an even greater blow from the girl who held a special place in his heart. With hopes of mending, Douglas gave Ashley a birthday present in late November 2017. He knew his wife was a huge tea lover. He purchased a gorgeous teapot, as well as cups, saucers, and a specialty tea meant for expectant mothers. Ashley took the present, but she would not stand for it. Rather, she brought several accusations against Douglas. One of them involved contaminating her tea. After looking over her assertions, nothing was discovered to support such serious allegations. However, Ashley didn't stop there. To find out if she had been poisoned, she submitted a sample of her hair to a different lab for examination. 3 weeks before giving birth, Ashley checked herself into the hospital without telling Douglas since the study indicated that her hair contained higher than normal levels of aluminium, zinc, and other elements. She was at the hospital, Tampa General. Fearing for her life, she stated that her husband had poisoned her, exposing the unborn child to heavy metals throughout pregnancy. Douglas was then accused by Ashley of physical abuse without proof. In addition, she said that Douglas had taken her hostage in his Charleston home. Despite the fact that Douglas lived hundreds of miles away, she maintained that he was following her everywhere, beginning in Florida. Ashley had told hospital staff that he was stalking her, so management changed her name to Christina in order to protect her. Doctors did a C-section 3 days later. Despite the newborn girl's health, Ashley was concerned that her child had been poisoned. But Douglas was not about to give up. He begged Ashley to reconsider, sending text after text message. After all, he felt he still had a faithful, joyful, and flawless family, but it had broken down in the most worst way. Ashley was not in the mood to go back or even forgive Douglas. She made the decision to report her spouse to the police and level additional charges against him. She contacted Florida Child Protective Services to inquire about Douglas's abuse of his eldest daughter, Eva. Ashley said to the police that Douglas struggled with anger management and detailed the day he shot a gun inside the home. Investigators spoke with Eva and Douglas, and they looked into the gun incident. But in the end, Douglas was found not guilty. Douglas was found to be safe and well after a psychologist evaluated him and completed a thorough psychiatric test. Unbelievably, Ashley penned a lengthy letter to Douglas once more. He was warned in the last paragraphs not to approach her or try to stalk her, or else the police would become involved once more. She didn't appear to be someone prepared to get back into a relationship, There was no mistaking her feelings as she sent Ashley Douglas another harsh note. The charges of poisoning escalated in the summer of 2018 when Ashley and Douglas appeared in court in Bradenton. Ashley requested a restraining order, and Douglas wanted to see his newborn baby. Despite Ashley's 2 days of testimony and the results of her lab tests, the judge remained unconvinced. According to Judge Diane Moreland, there is not even the tiniest bit of reliable evidence to suggest that Miss Benefield was ever poisoned or that she ever had a poison-related ailment. Douglas was able to visit his daughter at last thanks to this decision. He and Ashley got together outside the sheriff's office a few days later so the father could view the child. Ashley immediately became highly cooperative, much to the amazement of others around them. She then went straight to Douglas and gave him the baby with great grace. He even made the offer to spend the majority of the upcoming year with the three of them. Douglas, Ashley, and their daughter appeared content. Douglas even relocated to a nearby apartment in Florida in order to maintain his proximity to Ashley without upsetting her. However, he was shocked to discover an engagement ring on his wife's finger when he saw Ashley in August 2019 to pick up his kid. To discover what was going on, he hired a private investigator. Douglas was notified by the private investigator that Ashley was seeing another guy, and that man had filed for divorce in November 2019. Soon afterwards, Ashley started complaining to Douglas Benefield once more. Ashley charged him with acting inappropriately towards his small kid. She leveled several horrendous accusations against him. Douglas denied hurting his daughter, and the authorities acknowledged that there was insufficient proof. Then, in an email to the sheriff's office sent in March 2020, Douglas accused Ashley of having two distinct personalities. However, a few months later, in an unexpected and disorienting decision, Douglas declared that he and Ashley were moving to Maryland to try to start a family once more. While holding their breath, friends hoped that for the benefit of their small girl, her parents' amazing reunion would soon occur. On September 27, 2020, Douglas Benefield began the process of starting a new life. He was traveling from Florida to Maryland with Ashley, their small baby, and Ashley's mother, Alicia. So let's say that Sunday night is here. Ashley meets Douglas at around 5:30 in the evening to begin packing for the relocation. Ashley and Douglas are contentedly packing at Alicia's house. Alicia makes the decision to walk the infant to a local park. Douglas is left by himself with Ashley. As they converse, Ashley abruptly says they're moving without him. Douglas was furious. He cried out that they would all move in together and begin a new life. Douglas is accused of grabbing Ashley Benefield's left arm, yanking her back, and asking her where she was going when she attempted to leave the house. He gave her a menacing gesture with his index finger, then said, "You can't leave me." However, Ashley was sufficiently alarmed to start fearing for her life. Ashley Benefield went into her bedroom once more and took hold of the gun that was rightfully hers. Douglas did not stop and kept moving towards Ashley in an attempt to soothe her, even after she pointed the gun at him and gave him the order to leave her alone and leave the house. She started to shoot as he moved closer to her. Ashley watched as Douglas lost his balance, his feet slipping out from under him, and he fell hard, his legs lifting into the air. Screaming for assistance, the woman went to the neighbor's house. While walking their dogs, two neighbors noticed her running outside with a rifle, sobbing and yelling. Though Ashley hasn't said anything, only she truly knows what transpired that evening at the house. Ashley was charged with second-degree murder 5 weeks after the incident, but she entered a not guilty plea. She was detained for over 2 weeks before being released on bond. On November 4, 2020, Ashley started assisting the authorities. At that point, she was formally taken into custody and accused of second-degree murder. The defense of Ashley Benefield filed a move to dismiss the case, claiming that she shot her husband in self-defense, and she is still being held without bail, pending a future court appearance in February 2023. Her version of events, which explains what precipitated the fatal shooting, is presented in the 105-page motion. Neil Taylor, Ashley Benefield's lawyer, stated that a portion of the move is an effort to present her version of events. Ashley Benefield's attorneys included supporting documentation, images, and proof in their move to dismiss. These include pictures of Douglas Benefield with an amazing figure and strength, a picture of Ashley Benefield with a black eye, and a cut on the side of her body that she supposedly sustained from a moving box that Douglas was allegedly moving towards her. The defense argues that pictures of her wounds were shot on the same day as the incident. In July 2018, Douglas allegedly admitted to taking a gun out of his sleeve and shooting at the ceiling. He even allegedly admitted to throwing the gun at a wall in an attempt to silence Ashley Benefield during an argument. During the initial hearing, the defense attorneys made every effort to implicate Douglas of cruelty and uncontrolled aggression. Neil Taylor, the attorney for Ashley Benefield, and assistant state attorneys Suzanne O'Donnell and Rebecca Friel debated whether or not Ashley Benefield's actions the night she fired a gun at Doug Benefield were an act of self-defense. A motion to dismiss the case against Ashley, who was charged with killing her ex-husband about 2 months after showing up in court for a hearing, was turned down by the Teene County judge. Circuit Court Judge Stephen White stated that the state had demonstrated via the weight of the evidence that Douglas Benefield's death was the result of Ashley Benefield's prolonged and deliberate efforts rather than a single act of required self-defense. On September 27th, Judge White wrote in the ruling that Ashley Benefield was denied the dismissal of the case and immunity because the prosecutor and the court were not persuaded to shoot because the state's competent and substantial evidence clearly and convincingly demonstrated that the defendant is not entitled to judicial immunity from prosecution because she was not justified in using deadly force against the victim. The ruling rejected the defense's version of events and agreed with the state that there was probable cause to proceed with the case. According to court records, on September 27, 2020, Douglas Benefield visited his child at the Lakewood Ranch home, where the suspect was staying with her mother. An altercation broke out during this visit, and Douglas Benefield was shot as a result. Later, in a nearby hospital, he passed away from his wounds. Ashley Benefield said that when she attempted to flee from the authorities, Douglas grabbed her and started punching her. The affidavit claims that Douglas was not facing Ashley when she started shooting because of the entry wounds on his body. Additionally, he adopted no defensive stance. Although no weapon was discovered on or near Douglas, Ashley's claim of self-defense started to raise questions when the investigators looked into it. Douglas apparently had no idea that his cherished wife would shoot him. She has pleaded not guilty. There are many unanswered questions about her marriage to Douglas. Ashley admitted that she shot her husband. Did she truly fear for her life? It's possible she was scared of him. Fear is a strong emotion that can easily control people, but it's hard to be afraid of something that isn't there. Ashley lived in a constant state of fear, expecting to be attacked. When Douglas threatened her by pointing his finger in her face, she shot him. It's important to consider whether Ashley and Douglas should have been seen by a psychologist, especially with the poisoning claims. It's hard to tell if Ashley was a clever manipulator or a victim. Ashley was charged with second-degree murder and is still waiting for her trial. In Florida, people can defend themselves if they believe they are in danger of being hurt or killed. They don't have to run away as long as they aren't breaking the law. This stand-your-ground law means the prosecution must prove that Ashley's shooting was not justified.